Before we get into this YouTube video, I just want you to know beforehand that there's going to be no fluff, there's going to be no cuts, there's going to be no edits, there's going to be no fancy transitions or sound effects. This is a raw video where I'm going to be breaking down well over 10,000 hours of running Facebook ads for well over 400 to 500 clients, specifically in the lead generation sector. Okay, this isn't a beginner's video. This isn't a how to create a pixel video or how to set up a business manager. If you're watching this video and you're sick and tired of seeing all of these Facebook ad training videos on YouTube, which is just basic low-level content that you can more or less get for free anywhere, then this is a video for you. In this video, we can go in depth. I'm going to show you examples, testing strategies, stuff that works. And I'm not going to talk about how to create a Facebook ad or how to create an image or what's an image ad, what's a video, okay? We're just going to focus on the stuff that works. Okay, I've tested at least thousands and thousands of different creative styles, images, videos, copies, headlines. And I don't know how long this video is going to be. It could be 10 minutes, it could be 40 minutes. But I'm going to include everything in this video. And actually, I put everything that I'm going to go through in this video into a guide, which you can download for free by clicking the link in the description box. Okay, so you can download this for free. All you have to do is provide your email address and I'm going to send you a copy which you can use as a resource. So you don't have to keep referring back to this video and going through it over and over again. You can download that resource for free. So let's jump into my screen. Let's have a look at what we're going to cover in this video and let's get straight into it. So this is my advanced Facebook ads training, okay? And this is, as I said, over 10,000 hours of ad management kind of compiled into one video. And just for context, this has taken me a long time to put together. And if you're ever going to kind of sit down, get your notepad out and actually listen to one video, if you're in the media buying space, if you run ads for clients or even you're running ads for your own business, you need to listen to this video. Okay, it's worth the time input. There's no fluff here. We're going straight into the details. I honestly think there's pretty much everything you need to know and understand, at least to get to get decent results for your clients. Everything's going to be covered in this video. So here's what we're going to be going over. Okay, we're going to cover the metrics. Okay, so we're going to cover what numbers you need to understand and what are the critical and most important metrics inside of your Facebook ads to make them succeed. Okay, really, really important that we cover that. We're going to go over budget requirements. What budget is required is a question I get almost every single day or at least once a week. We're going to cover like what budget you need to launch a campaign and the numbers behind that. We're going to talk about offers, my offer strategy, what offers work the best, what offers you can create for your clients to make them, to jazz them up and turn a bad offer into a good one. We're going to talk about that. And we're also going to go through ad creatives, which is probably the most important part for a lot of you guys watching this. We're going to go through ad creatives that includes image ads, video ads. I'm going to give you my formulas and even give you templates that you guys can take away and kind of copy for yourselves. And then we're going to talk about funnel structures. We're going to talk about ad testing strategies and troubleshooting. Everything you need to launch a successful video ad is going to be covered in this video. Okay, and you're going to want to stick around for the ad creative section. That is going to be probably one of the most useful, maybe 5 minutes of YouTube content you've ever watched. When it comes to Facebook ads, there's no fluff here. We're going to get straight into the details. So let's talk about metrics first. Now, what do I mean when I say metrics? I mean the numbers behind your ad campaign. It's all well and good just chucking some ads up and throwing them up there and hoping for the best. And, or when your clients are asking you questions such as how much budget do we need, or I can only spend this much. Is that enough? Okay, and that's what we're going to cover in this video. So we're going to answer questions such as what budget do I need? What cost per lead should I expect? And there's a long answer and there's a short answer. The long answer is it depends. Okay, every campaign works differently. Every area in the UK is different, or the US, or wherever you are. Every area works different. Every product is different. Every client's price point is different. There's lots of variables that comes into play that we don't have control over, and we need to test and find out. Okay, but the short answer is you work backwards from what we call AOV and CPA. AOV is your average order value, and your CPA is your cost per acquisition. So don't worry, I am going to zoom in a little bit here, just so you can see this clearly and just make sure I'm not in the way. Cool. So we have some metrics here that I popped into a spreadsheet. I'll try and link this spreadsheet in the resource, which you can get when you leave your email address down below. I'll pop a link in the description. So when you get this, I'll try and leave a link to this spreadsheet so you can copy it and you can pop your own metrics in there. But if we work backwards from the client, so whatever product we're trying to sell on Facebook, we work backwards from their average order value, which is the amount that client makes for every customer. So if we're working with, let's say, home services products, that might be a one-time installation, then the AOV is the same as the LTV. There is no lifetime value. Once the customers have the product installed, that is it. But we typically have higher AOVs in that instance, right? If we're working with an LTV product, that means a recurring monthly product, not necessarily recurring, but if we take products such as gym memberships, or we take products such as aesthetic clinics, or we take hair salons, there's always a recurring element, or there's a kind of a lifetime element. So the LTV and the AOV is kind of the same thing. That is basically, what does our client make on average for every customer that we generate them? Okay, so once we understand this metric, we then work backwards from there, and we understand, okay, what is that customer willing to pay what is our client willing to pay to get a customer? And I've kind of put here is like, you got to talk to your customer and help, your client, to help them understand this. But a general rule of thumb is to kind of just shoot for 10%. Obviously, for some, industries and it might be, you might get a lower one, you might get a higher one. But if you just don't know the answer, aim for 10%. So that is basically whatever your AOV is, you want to aim for 10% of that. If you're working with gyms and they're getting, let's say, they're charging $100 per month membership, and the average customer stays for 10 months, then their AOV is $1,000. So if you can get them clients for $100, they're making 10x their money, and that should be easily do. In any sound business, they should be able to make that work. Okay. So that's what we call our kind of cost per acquisition ceiling. So we put that down as 10%. So we've got £500. We've then got our lead to consultation, or lead to appointment, so a conversion rate. So that means for every lead that comes in, what percentage of those get booked in for either a consultation or an appointment, depending on what that client actually is doing. And if you're unsure, aim for 25%, or start with 25%, and you can work it out later down the line once you've actually ran the ads and you started testing. So that means for every 100 leads, 25 appointments are getting scheduled. We then got our what percentage of appointments are likely to close into a sale. So out of the 25%, what percentage of those consultations or appointments is likely to convert into a sale? And again, if unsure, aim for 25%. So that is 1 in 4. Okay, you might get a 1 in 5, but you might get a 1 in 2. It obviously depends, but it's always good to kind of make your numbers realistic. So if we go to 25%, so then we have based on these two metrics, we have what's known as our lead to sale expected conversion rate. So that means for every 10 leads that we get, how many are we anticipating are going to close into a sale? So based on these numbers, that we anticipate that 6% are going to convert. Now, if this was 30% and this was 30%, that would obviously be, higher, but you kind of get the point. So basically, if we get 100 leads, that's going to lead to about 6 sales or 6 customers based on these metrics. And then we've got an approximate leads needed for a sale. Again, you can download this template if you download the guide, and you can plug these numbers and play around with them. So that means if we don't at least generate 16 leads, there's a good chance the client won't close any. I mean, we might generate 16, still the client won't close any. So we need to generate a good percentage more than that 16 to be able to justify the campaign and for the client to close deals and make profit. Okay, do you understand where I'm going from this? If we then have a target cost per lead, which is based on these metrics, it's based on the amount of leads needed for a sale, based upon what the customer's willing to pay. That gives us kind of what a CPL target that we're aiming for with this. So if we're coming in at £15 and all these metrics consistent, then that's great news. That means that we can kind of halve, we're kind of doubling the ROI based on our predictions. Okay. So then what we get is we have a target revenue, we have a customer's needed to hit that revenue based on the AOV, and we have leads needed. So for example, if the customer wants to make 20 grand, or the client, wants to make 20 grand, whatever we're running ads for, I hope you understand. When I say client, I'm referring to the client that you're managing the ad account for. And then the customer, I'm referring to the customers they're selling to. So if we've got a target revenue of 20 grand, we're going to need 4 customers. In order to get 4 customers based on our 1 in 16 lead conversion rate here, we're going to need 125 leads, which is going to be 3,906. And you might be thinking, God, that's so much money. How am I going to convince a client to spend that much money? Obviously, we build up to this, okay? But you get the idea. You get the understanding. £3,900 sounds like a lot, but if that's an exchange for 20 grand, it might be slightly more realistic. It's still quite a lot. Okay, these numbers are very much, conceptual numbers at this stage, but you kind of get the idea and kind of get where I'm coming from with this. Okay, so play around with these numbers, help it make sense and understand with your the budget that you're running at and all this kind of stuff, and kind of work around these metrics to figure out what your overall kind of budget requirement needs to be based on the customers or clients, so based on the client's expectations. And I've said here, use the above as a rough estimation of what budget to set a campaign based on your goals. Make sure that you set enough budget to generate sales. Too low and you may not have sufficient budget. And ultimately, you won't know exact numbers until you run tests. If you have 3 or 4 clients in the same industry, you can share that data with the new client, explain to them, look, these are the numbers that we're getting so far, and this is the stuff that matters. And this is the only thing the client needs to see. The client doesn't need to know the cost per click or the CPM or any of that stuff. They only really care about this information, right? So this is kind of like the after lead info. So kind of starting from CPL, working our way back down to the rest of the stats. Now let's look at Facebook stats. If I'm zooming a little bit further again, we've got here everything you need to track up until customer interaction can be measured inside Facebook. So that is, if you have a look at these stats, I'm going to try and zoom in as much as I can for you guys to see. We've got our budget, which is the amount spent, and then what I've done is I've customized my columns, and what I'm actually going to quickly do now is show you how I've done that, but let's go through it. So we've got amount spent, we've got amount of clicks generated, and we can also add in cost per click there if we want to too. I prefer to look at, actually it's not in here, but I tend to look at CTR, which is our link click-through rate. Basically the understanding is if you are generating, if your link click-through rate is high enough and your landing page conversion or your lead form conversion rate is high enough, then you get leads at the right cost. If your lead cost is too high, it's one of two things or both. It's either your click-through rate is too low or your conversion rate is too low, okay? So it's really important that you look at your Facebook stats and understand this so that you can make an assumptional decision. If your click-through rate is 2%, which is good, by the way, anything above 1% is kind of good. Anything around 1% is good. Anything below that is may need some work, but it depends on your market. Again, everything is different. You really want to focus your attention on this cost per lead target before working backwards. So if your cost per lead is below your target and it's working and the client's happy with it, then you don't need to worry too much about your link click-through rates, your landing page conversion rate. You can just focus on that, and then you work backwards from that problem. So you start with the most core stats, and then you work your way back based on performance. If it's not working, you look back and have a quick look. There's no point rebuilding your entire campaign from scratch if a small change to your lead form could have picked up the conversion rate and it could have improved the campaign massively. Okay, so work these stats. So now let's have a quick look at how we set these up. Okay, so I'm within an ad campaign that's been running for a little while, and it's let's just go to maximum here so we can see all the data. And it's come to default performance, which is fine. That allows us to see how many leads have been generated, how much the cost per lead is, and all of that kind of good stuff. But what if we want to know further down the line, we want more information? Now we can look over here. It's quite confusing. And the best way to organize your columns is to come here and click on customize columns. And you want to do things in order of which they show in the funnel. So what I mean by that is you want to start with your budget, then you want link clicks, you want cost per link click, you want link click-through rate, then you want leads, then you want cost per lead, then you want conversion rate, and then you want all the supplementary data that's maybe not key, so just like CPMs, frequency, and that kind of stuff. So we want basically at a glance to be able to look into our ad account and see what's going on. So let's just clear all of this excess data and let's kind of start from scratch, get rid of all of this stuff, engagement ranking. We'll leave it here. And what we're going to start with, amount spent, which is already here. So we're going to move that down here. We're going to put amount spent. We're then going to put leads. We're going to go total, and it's going to bring all these ones up. We only want to have website leads, so we're going to leave that in there. We're then going to tick the cost element, so we're going to have leads and then cost per lead. And we're then going to want to know, sorry, we've missed a couple of features here. First thing we want is link clicks. And then we want link click-through rate. So we want, which is basically here, CTR, link click-through rate. You don't want overall CTR. You want link click-through rate. We then want cost per link click. Again, underneath that one, we'll then move our leads down. So then we want to report on leads. And after leads, we want to report on cost per lead, which we are leads. Let's go to leads. It's doing cost. There we go, cost per lead. Then what we want to do is something quite fancy. We want to calculate our conversion rate. So that is the amount of people going to our landing page and converting. So if we click on custom metric, and by the way, this works for lead forms and this works for website leads. It doesn't matter which one you're using. The first thing we want to do is search for leads. If you're using meta leads, you want to select meta leads. If you're using website leads, you want to select website leads. So I'm going to go ahead and click website leads. Zoom in a little bit here. And then you want to click this divide symbol. And then you want to search for metric and you want unique link clicks. That's a unique amount of people that have clicked through to your ad or have clicked the link on your ad or either opened a lead form. Okay, so now we've got website leads divided by unique link clicks. The only thing that would change if you're using lead forms would be meta leads divided by unique link clicks. We then want to put this as conversion rate and we want to change the format to percentage. and then you can change the access to either you or everybody who is in your business. If you've got employees or colleagues they want to see us too, you can click everyone in the business, and then want to click create metric, and it's then going to show on only you, or sorry, everyone with access to the business. So we're going to click conversion rate, and that is going to then show at the bottom. And then the other metrics we want to look at is frequency, which is already in here. So we're going to move frequency down, and we want to look at CPM, which is basically our cost per 1,000 impressions. So we're going to go ahead and click, in fact, before we click apply, we're going to click save column as preset. I'm going to call it Sam's preset. You can change this to call it whatever you want. We're going to hit apply. And now anytime you come back in here, you can just go here and you can click your preset. And we can see here we've got £1,500 spent, which has generated 1,291 link clicks. Our cost per link click is £1.23. Our link click-through rate is 1.72, which is pretty good. 150 leads at £10 each, and it's added that in there, but that's okay. And then we come out here, and that's the overall conversion rate for that is 13.94%, which again is pretty damn good. The general rule of thumb with conversion rate is on a lead form, anywhere between like 8 and 15% is usually typically pretty good. Landing page, anywhere from sort of 5 to 15% is typically pretty good. If you might in some instances have a lower conversion rate, but your click-through rate's really high, in which case you can kind of get away with a slightly lower conversion rate. And the CPMs, again, you don't need to look at this data unless you kind of nailed the rest of them. And the reason your CPMs often are high is either you're targeting an audience which is quite specific and tailored, or your ads just aren't jiving and Facebook doesn't like them, the users don't like them, not engaging with them, and that's why we test, which is what we're going to go into a little bit later on in this video. So let's go back to Notion. Let's go through this board in a little bit more detail. So now we've gone over Facebook stats. Let's chat about offers. So I'm just going to zoom out a little bit so you guys can see this all clearly. Okay, so your offer is the centerpiece of your ad. So that means a good offer will make ads easy, and a poor offer will make ads hard. Okay, this is why I'm starting with this kind of first, as opposed to going through creatives and then using offers as an afterthought. It's a little bit like YouTube. Okay, most YouTubers will make a video and then they'll make a thumbnail. Whereas, YouTube strategy should be to come up with your thumbnail and your headline and then make a YouTube video off the back of that. Because if you don't generate the click, if the offer's not compelling enough, you're never going to generate any leads, even if your ads look amazing. Okay. So think of it this way: a bad offer with good ads will be tough, whereas a great but still doable, right? A good media buyer can make it work probably, but it's much easier if you have a great offer. Average ads can be easy, right? You've seen those ads on Facebook where a business owner just threw them up himself, but he's got such a great product price point or a good offer on his product that it just works, gets loads of engagements. We've all seen those ads before, and that comes down to the fact that his offer is good, and therefore his kind of limited ad knowledge is saving him, right? So let's take a leaf out of their book. The sort of Chad approach, if you will, is to just have a good offer and let Facebook run its course. And so that's why when we go back down into creatives later on in this video, we're going to be talking about that, and you're going to be seeing how sometimes just creating a good offer, making that offer front and center is the key to good advertising and good performance and good results, which we'll go into again later on in this video. But good to watch it all in order so you get a full understanding of everything that I'm talking about. But one thing to note or to remember is that a good offer doesn't necessarily mean a cheap price or huge discount. It's about creating enough perceived value, in which, again, comes down to more than just the price. So think about it this way. It's like if what you're offering seems, in exchange for what you're asking for is higher, people are going to opt in. Okay, you're asking for their details, so we're not trying to trick them into opting in. We're trying to make the offer compelling enough for people to actually want to opt in. So we're going to go through examples for how I would do that for businesses. But the most important thing is authenticity of the offer. Now, this is one thing that most people get wrong. They go to a business, the business doesn't have an offer. They say, hey, let's just run a 10% discount. And then they run it and the ads don't work and they're wondering why. Well, it's because your offer had no authenticity. People don't believe the price discount. If you go to a website, you guys do this all the time. You go into TK Maxx or whatever you guys call that overseas. You look at these products and it says RRP, $20, and then now $14.99, and you think, okay, but then you look up online and they're actually selling $14.99 everywhere. It's not a real offer, right? They just inflated the price to make it sound compelling, but a lot of people see through that. So what we want to do is we want to make the offers sound realistic, and we want to give them authenticity, which we're going to go through. So I pulled examples of this for like several kind of different niches and sectors, just to give you guys some context, but this can apply to more or less anything. So we've taken an offer here, which is a 20% discount on all aircon units. And what we're going to do is we're going to make it seem believable. Okay, so get 20% off all air conditioning units. Now let's make it believable. And I've added some extra copy here to kind of emphasize the offer. So I put end of season sale, get a fixed 20% off selected ranges. And then what I've done is I put it's the end of season, which means it's time for us to clear our stock. So you can get 20% off the following HVAC units while stocks last. And then I've got the names of them and I've got the amount that they're going to get off for those particular units. Now, the reason this works better is because we've taken that 20% discount and we've added a reason as to why there's 20% discount. If people believe the reason, they're more than likely to feel like they're getting a good deal, and then they're more than likely to engage. So the reason this works, actually going product specific sometimes can often work quite nicely. And we've kind of given a reason or kind of justification for the sale, which is that end of season, we've got a stock, but we want to clear it before summer months come into play or whatever it is. So we've added a discount sale onto these products. Okay, let's have a look at another one. So quite the most kind of, or you could do quote even, the most common kind of offer people run is like free consultation or free appointment or free quote. Again, not really an offer. If the product's good enough, that might be fine. If product is compelling enough, that may be fine. But let's look at how we can jazz that up. So common offer, request your free quote below. Now let's make it believable. I've put in here, get a free 3D design of your dream bathroom renovation, usually $199. Okay, so we've taken something they might already be doing in their free quoting system, adding value to it, and giving that away as our value. So if we look at this, looking for the dream new bathroom ahead of Christmas, here at X, so company name, we have revolutionary design technology that allows us to build your dream bathroom and visualize it for you. We can even design it to exact specifications and budget. We usually charge $199, but for this, but we're offering it to free for the next 10 homeowners who request one. And XXX would be New Jersey or Essex homeowners or whatever it is, wherever your client is based. Again, we've kind of taken something free. You can do this for example, with the next example is another way of doing it. So like a free quote on roof installation. I've changed that to, are you losing money? Get a free energy assessment on your roof worth $199. Did you know homeowners can lose up to $3,000 per year through poor roof insulation? Here at X, we have the top of the range equipment, including several drones and heat analysis tools, allowing us to provide an in-depth assessment on how you can save money on your energy bills. Obviously, I've not added this text to this one, but you kind of get the idea. Let's carry on. This is usually $199, but we're offering it for free for the next 10 homeowners to get in touch. We'll also provide a range of quotes for different insulation solutions that suit your budget and what you actually need for your home, so you don't overpay. So we've taken a quote and we've jazzed it up. We've made it seem more compelling because we're not trying to sell the product here. We're selling we're selling the kind of the appointment or the assessment, whatever you want to call it. Now, obviously, in an ideal world, you'd have a good offer that you wouldn't need to have kind of advertise the assessment. But for when you're working with clients who don't have fancy offers or maybe they're slightly more high end, jazzing up the kind of sales process can make it much more compelling. And again, if the offer is good enough, people will find a way to reach you. So often, if you're struggling with poor quality leads, or it sometimes can be stemmed from the offer. Like if your offer is not particularly compelling or believable, you might be attracting the wrong crowd. And if you make an offer compelling enough, people actually want it, then you may often drive actual, quality leads who will find a way to reach you, if that makes sense. But lastly, kind of caveat here is if your product is less competitive and has a large demand, your product is your offer, and you don't always need an offer to get people to engage. So let's say, for example, you work in industry, your client comes in and says, hey, I've got this new product, it's really popular, we're the only supplier in the area, can we try marketing this product? You might not need to run an offer because there's enough demand for that product to the point where just running that product on itself and having a free quote offer might do just fine. Okay, but obviously those are dime in a dozen. It's hard to find those products often, and it's most of the time we find ourselves in crowded markets. So if you are working in a crowded market, like most of you will be, a good offer helps you cut through the noise and generate leads at a competitive rate. I'm going to show you how to take your offer and market it effectively through creatives. That's what the goal of this video is. So let's get into the nitty gritty. Let's talk about funnels. Okay, this isn't a landing page design video. I do have other videos about funnels. I'm going to give you guys the basic funnel stuff, and then we're going to focus on the ads. Okay, now this is the general funnel structure that 90% of you guys are going to be following. Okay, we've got ads, we've got lead collection, whether that be a page or a lead form, which we'll talk about later. We've got lead nurture, which is how we follow up with that lead. It kind of sits between the lead and the sale, is the lead nurture stage. And we've then got what we call a quotable lead. Okay, that is basically somebody who has shown interest, responded, spoken to us, and those details are now with the client, and the client is able to book them in for either a consultation, an appointment, or even a phone consultation to be able to quote that lead. This is the only stat that your client cares about. So if you're able to generate loads and loads of leads, but none of them are going to quotable stage, then you've got a problem. If you're able to get 80% of your leads to quotable stage, but you're just not able to generate very many leads, you've got a problem. So it's about finding the balance, okay? And as I said, this is the only stat that truly matters, is the number of quotable leads you provide to your client. It doesn't matter if you use image ads, it doesn't matter if you use lead forms, it doesn't matter if you use ClickFunnels or high level, and it doesn't matter, if you use special tactics or sales strategies or fancy follow-ups. If your client isn't getting enough quotable leads, then you have a problem. So that should be our goal, okay? And but just to clarify, it's not your job to get them sales, but it is your job to get them qualified and quotable leads. That is your goal as a media buyer, okay? So good follow-up strategies in place and good lead nurture sequences in place are critical to be able to nurture those leads to the point where they're at a quotable stage. And in most cases, that is at a point where they actually are interested and they answer the phone and they speak to your client. By that point, in most cases, they become a quotable lead, okay? So the best funnel is the one that generates the most quotable leads for the budget provided and also creates the least aggro for the client. So it's great if you're able to generate leads for £2, but if you're getting them 10 a day and they're having to call, be calling for 4 hours a day, then that's obviously not ideal. So if you can find a solution that kind of solves that, and I will go into more videos in the future about follow-up strategies that I've implemented that have been working, such as conversational AI. So if you want that kind of stuff, leave a comment down below. Let me know that you're interested in it, and I will make a video about that in the future. But let's move on to lead forms versus landing pages. Okay, big debate. Okay, I'm going to give you my favorite funnel right now before we come into the nuts and bolts of this. This is my favorite funnel. This is the one that I've been testing, which is the one that's been working the best for me. And that is a Facebook ad to a lead form with a survey on it. It's like a standard high intent lead form, a confirmation page on the lead form, and then conversational AI, or a real live appointment setter calling that lead immediately and then booking the appointment. That is my favorite strategy. I prefer, especially with local businesses and small brick and mortar businesses, I prefer to have a high volume of leads, such as running through lead forms, and rather than using landing pages. And then I'll explain to you why that is. So the only difference between a landing page and a lead form is it takes more time for the customer, to leave their details through a landing page. So obviously, they have to let the page load. They have to scroll through the page to locate the form. They have to leave the details. Obviously, with a good landing page, it can still work extremely well. However, typically when people say, "Oh, I'm getting poor quality leads, so I'm switching to a landing page instead," the only reason they're doing that and the reason they think that it's going to make things better is because less people are going to opt in. Therefore, probably the most engaged or highest intent customers are the ones that are actually going to go through the faff of leaving their details. Whereas a lead form, it's obviously on Facebook, it's native to the platform, it opens immediately. There is not really any load time. It's pretty much immediate, and it's more native to the platform. People don't have to leave, it pre-fills. So obviously you get a higher volume of leads, but if you have a good follow-up process on the back end, which we'll cover in a separate video if you guys want to, then you will be able to generate more quotable leads, like we said. Okay, so landing pages are great if you want more control of user experience. So if your product is complicated, such as B2B products, or even if you're trying to generate like sales or scheduled calls and stuff like that, you might need a funnel. You might need a landing page to be able to educate that lead enough to make them be able to do the requested outcome. Right? If you're trying to pre-schedule phone calls, a landing page may be better for that. But if you're just generating raw leads that you're then nurturing, I would always pick lead forms over pages. That's my preference. Doesn't mean I'm right. That's just what I've tested, and that's what I prefer. If your client has a sales team in place, i.e. a call center, and has good follow-up time of less than 10 minutes, and you can generate pure raw leads at low cost, and it's likely going to work because they're calling them very, very quickly. If your client doesn't have quick follow-up, then the best strategy I've found is to have a solid SMS. I don't even typically bother with email in most circumstances. A solid SMS nurture sequence in place to engage the lead, or even implementing conversational AI so that you can engage and even book your leads into consultations or appointments for your client to then quote or close that lead. That works typically best for me. Okay, so that's my favorite funnel structure. This isn't a video talking all about funnels. This is specific to Facebook ads. I feel like we've got all the boring bits out the way now. Now we're going to start talking about ad creators, which I know is what you guys are here for. And when I was researching ad creatives, I came across this study and this example, which is basically the heat map. I came across this a long time ago, but I thought I'd kind of bring it back up again for purposes of this video. And this is a heat map of where people look and engage based on lots of data being collected based on the kind of eye mapping and stuff like that. And so you can see here we've got our ad video or image, we've got our headline, we've got our copy here, our primary text. And you can see that the vast majority of the engagement is happening right here, which is in the ad image or video. So that is the most important element. And I think a lot of people spend too much time worrying about the ad primary text and not worrying enough about the ad creative. So your job as a media buyer is 90% creative strategy. It's not really testing. It's not really, copy, but it is copywriting, which we'll get into. But primarily it's the image, which does most of the heavy lifting. And I've actually got this graphic here, which I created just as an example to show you guys. And just, try and look at this and immediately before I say anything, just look at this and see where your eyes go. So if you're like me, you looked here first, and then you looked here, and then you looked here. And in 90% of cases, so that's what the customers are going to do. Okay, they're going to look at the image, then they're going to look at here, then they're going to look here. So what's most important? Well, obviously the image, and then what's secondly most important? Well, obviously it's the headline. So therefore you have to earn each point of attention. If your image doesn't grab the attention of the customer, they're not even going to bother to read this, and they're not even going to bother to read this. Okay, so we have to earn the attention of the next step, which means having compelling graphic or video that stops the scroll. And also, if using a video, it's extremely important that the first 3 seconds of the video is most attention grabbing. And that even comes down to things such as your thumbnail choice, right? Because there is a second or half a second where the video doesn't load and they just see the thumbnail. So if your thumbnail is captivating enough, they're more than likely going to get the first 3 seconds a go. And if that's captivating enough, then again, they're going to get the rest of the video a go. So you're earning the next stage of the attention that you're taking from the customer. Okay, so just a quick recap. Number one, importance, our ad creatives, that gets their attention and it stops them from scrolling. Okay, gets them to engage with that ad in more depth. Number two is our ad headline. That tells them what they get if they click. Okay, so some users will then click. This is actually really important information. Not everybody is going to read your primary text, and that's okay. If your ad is an offer, you follow the processes that I'm talking about, and your offer's strong, you stop the scroll. Your image, which we're going to show examples by the way, so don't worry. But if your image stops the scroll and then your ad headline tells them what happens next, then a lot of people won't read the ad copy. So the way to think about this is much like the way we would look at an Amazon product. If we go to Amazon and we search for a product and we're looking at those products, typically nobody is in here I'll use this as an example. If you're searching, for example, like I wanted to buy some wall lights for my wall, okay? I didn't want to have to do the electric, so I needed something that was battery powered. So I searched for wall lights, and then I checked the description. I looked at the image of the wall light, see if I liked it. I looked at the price, see if I liked it. I looked at the headline, make sure it was what I was looking for. And then I looked at the description to just double check that it was battery powered wall light. It's the same principle for your ads. The image it grabs their attention and it's appealing to them. And then look at the headline to see what they're going to get when they click. What's the process? How does it work? And then if there's still information that's missing, such as they want to know, where are you based? What's the timeline for this? What's the timeline for this product? What is the further information behind this offer? How does it work? They go to your ad primary text. So the ad primary text is about explaining your offer in a way that's written clearly. Okay, that's why this video isn't actually focused too much. I'm not focusing too much attention on copy. It's mostly on creatives. Is clearly explaining what the product does, okay, as opposed to, and we'll look at an example in a minute, as opposed to your ad copy selling the product for them, okay. Hopefully that makes sense, and we'll go through some examples. So let's look at a bad example. I mean, this is all hypothetical, like I've said here, because this ad might work really well, okay, and I might eat my words. Although I did check and they have taken it down. So since I started this video and now I'm filming it, so can't have done that well. But let's look at this one, and then I've redesigned it in a couple of ways here, and we've kind of created more elements to test. So this one here, there's a lot going on. We've got an image of a family, which I think is quite a good use of visuals. Sometimes I like to have like very just product focused visuals like this one here, so people know what it is. And if you've got a photo of the product, often you don't need to have much explain the product. So you notice in my example here, I've got a photo of the product, and therefore I haven't got HVAC written anywhere. Whereas this one is a photo of a family, so I put $100 off all HVAC units, clearance sale now on. So what I've done is I've used like the usage of color and font size. So when we're talking about creatives, we now know that the order of priority is creatives and headline, then primary text, but we can go even further with that into our actual image. So we can actually look at, okay, but within our actual creative, what is the priority there now? So when you look at this, I don't know about you, but my eyes immediately go to $100, right? So then I know it's a number, and numbers often drive more, they're good at grabbing attention often, especially if the number is high, or you're using like bright colors such as greens or reds. It kind of signifies danger or safety, and so often people will gravitate towards those colors. So what I've done here is I've used a combination of letter sizing or font sizing and colors to drive the user's eyeballs in the direction that I want them to go in. So they're seeing $100 off, and they're thinking, oh, $100 off, and obviously the image being used is like a family, so it seems more engaging, more kind of friendly, and more kind of trustworthy, let's say. We've got $100 off, eyes go there. Next thing they go to is this, all HVAC units, and then we've got here clearance sale now on, and then they're going to go to the headline which says $100 off before November the 31st. So what we've done here, instead of them repeating ourselves and going $100 off all HVAC units, we've added in an element of scarcity or urgency in our headline, because we've already done the heavy lifting with what the offer is in the actual creative. So now we can use a supplementary angle with our headline, because we're kind of doing that in priority order. We could have here, we could have $100 off. We could have here, offer ends November 31st here. And then here we could say clearance sale on all HVAC units, for example, so the customer knows what the product is. Because in 90% of cases, they're going to look at the headline after they look at the image, unless they're on platforms such as Instagram, which is something we'll get into later. On platforms like Instagram, your headline is kind of swallowed into your primary text. It's next to your the company's or the client's kind of handle, but it's not as looked at as much as it is on Facebook, okay? And also on Instagram stories and all of that stuff, we're going to get into it, okay? Don't worry. So if you look at this one though, we can see, I don't know where I go to these guys first, and then I look at the logo, Jackson Heating and Cooling, and then it says contact us for your full HVAC maintenance. It's not very engaging or appealing. So what I've done is I've taken that and I've added kind of some changes. Now, I don't think this offer is particularly strong. I only use this because that's the offer that they're using. I'm going to show you ways in which you can make this offer even more compelling, which we're going to get into in a minute. And you can even go a step further and use attention grabs in your image text like so. So what I've actually done is I went to ChatGPT, and you guys can do the same thing. And I asked it, hey, can you give me 5 compelling hooks as to why somebody would buy this product? And I was told, okay, we've got beat the winter heat or winter chill. So that's an obvious one. Like if they don't have HVAC and their house is hot, then they may want it. So that's kind of one market, is people that don't have it yet. So we can kind of want to add creatives or add angles that suit both people who don't have HVAC, and then people who maybe already have HVAC, but they have an old system, which is the second most important, which was save money on energy bills. So what I did, I've got three others here, but I thought these ones were the most kind of compelling. So I kind of stuck with those 2 angles to start with, and what I did was I created more variations of this with those angles. Now actually I've got a third angle in here which is much simpler, which I recommend you guys do, which is a price angle, which we'll come to in a second. So let's have a look at these. So I've done one here which is heat angle, which is non-HVAC owners, and what I've done is I've just pulled the angles too hot, right? Too hot, and I've got you can use obviously client imagery, but I've got a photo of a guy, and I put HVAC systems from just $3,999. So again, that's kind of focusing on people who don't yet have HVAC, and so their biggest pain point is going to be it's not going to be energy saving, because it's going to cost them more to install HVAC on their energy bills, but you get the idea, right? So the energy saving angle is not really going to compel with them, whereas people who already have HVAC, I've gone with the energy saving angle. But one thing that I've done here, which is super interesting, we zoom in a little bit, is I've actually focused on the saving number. So what I did was I went to Google. Obviously, you'd have to okay this by the client, but I went on Google and said, hey, what is the average American utility bill or energy bill? It came up with about, I can't remember, like $5,000 a year or something like that. I then took around 30% off that, and then I've saved that as this, because all of these guys, you'll notice, a lot of them will say, this one doesn't, but a lot of them will say saves 30% on your energy bills with a newer system. So what I've done here is I put save 1457. So again, a big number. And I've put on your energy was underneath. And I put clearance sale now on. And then the copy, you could put here, you could put more information. You could put like clearance sale ends on something like that. And I've got here like, is your HVAC system over 12 years old? So it's kind of like angled around that. The third one, which is one of my favorite ones, is if you're running a discount, it's to kind of do what we talked about earlier on in the video, which is to focus those discounts around individual products. So what I've done here is taken a photo of that particular system that they might sell. Where is it? Here we go. And I put 25% off, and I've put an image of the system. I put the train system. I put was 6650, now just 4999, fully installed, and this says clearance sale now on. You can probably change this to clearance sale ends 31st November, and I put here take advantage of our clearance sale. So it's on a very specific product, okay, and that's worked really well. And obviously your client could play around with their price points to make these discounts sound more appealing, but by adding a clearance sale, adding a photo of the product, making it very specific, it made it way more believable, okay? And this is just a very boring, yet kind of to the point advert showing you how we've done this. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna jump into Canva. I'm gonna show you how I create these templates. And what I may try and do as well is if you download this again in the link down below, you can get access to the actual templates that I've created for these particular creatives as a Canva template, which you can use and download. So let's jump into Canva. I'm gonna show you how I would create an ad that looks like this. Okay, so I've got a few different variations. Let's go to first this one that I showed you guys. This is a stock image, so obviously you would have to use the unbranded version of this, but all I literally did, if we look at the right-click this and go to layers and go to show layers, you can see my different layers here. So all I did was I uploaded the original image, which was this one here. If we then bring this one to the top, you can see here, all I did was right-click this, or so we go into this, click on the background remover tool, and what that did was it removed the background for me, and then I duplicated that layer, and I was able to make this cool kind of layered effect, which is very simple to do, but it makes your image ads look that bit more professional. So you can see here, it kind of cuts off there behind her head, makes it look a little bit more professional. I've also used very bold fonts. Now, what you can use is a font tool such as What the Font. If you go here, you can go to What the Font, this one. You can then identify fonts. So if I go here and I just screenshot this here, go back into What the Font, upload that image. Let's find it. There we go. Open that. It's then going to identify the font text. I can even go as far as selecting all of this and identifying that font. It will then give you a list of fonts which are available similar to that one. So you can go out, find some cool fonts, and then what you can do is you can go and, so let's say for example, Avenir Next, you can go into Google search Avenir Next free font. Download, and often you can find this font for free in several different locations, such as here. You can literally download that OTF file, come into Canva, and you can then upload that custom font inside of Canva, and that's just a cool way allowing you to make these really bold and clear headlines. And this one here, for example, is very, very simple. It's the same style, but all I've done is I've added some text, I've made it really clear, I've added the image, a bit of drop shadow on the image, I've added the logo. Again, very, very, very simple stuff. I will leave a template to this in the resource, which you can download down below. Okay, let's get back to the video. Okay, so one caveat to this, which I want to go over, is sometimes simplicity rules. And what I mean by that is you don't always have to overcomplicate your creative. Sometimes you can test simple stuff, such as before and after images or just product photos. And you can add a little bit of text to those photos to make it slightly more compelling and to maybe explain what's going on in the image. So we look at these examples that I found. One of my tricks is the kind of the YouTube test. You've seen YouTube thumbnails. You've seen those thumbnails that are really basic and really simple, but make you want to click the video. It's the same. Context with an ad, right? If the ad would likely work as a thumbnail, then it will likely work as an ad. It's not that simple, but you kind of get the idea. So if we look at this one here, I came up with again. I made these one myself. We've got NJ auto detailing. We've got before and after paint correction. We've got before, after, and the headline is paint correction, just $199 sale. Or this one, dent repair, just $99. And we've actually put that in the text itself. We've got a simple before and after picture, and then we've got dent repair, just $99 sale. Or we could even make this headline, booking your repair for 30 seconds. Or we could put in NJ homeowners only, or MJ car owners only, or whatever it might be. Again, very, very simple, but likely this is going to work. We've got a good offer. and we've got a great simple image which explains exactly what the product does in one glance. Okay, you can look at this. You could literally just have this image before and after, and you could put just $99, and you know what it does. Okay, it's that simple. Okay, it doesn't need explaining. It's not overly complex. Okay, so now we've kind of, and obviously the template to that one is also in here, which you guys can pull and copy. And again, we're using kind of this whole yellow text, yellow background, where it's like the text is dead easy to read. What we don't want to have is like where we put the text over like this and we actually can't read what's going on. We want to follow these. Remember these kind of rules. You got like the 3-second rule. You've got to grab attention, explain the product before that user disappears and starts looking at cat memes. Okay, so let's talk about dimensions. Okay, something which most people will overlook, and that is the dimensions. Now, as of recently, you don't actually really need to worry about you only need to worry about 2 dimensions. That is your primary ad. So that's almost like feeds, mostly just feeds, like Instagram and Facebook feeds. And that can be square, but that can also be essentially like rectangle. Like a kind of, 1200 by 628 is kind of the standard size. Back in the day, you would have to create 3 variations for different placements. Now you only have to create 2, but you do really need to be creating variants for your stories or reels. Okay, whether you're doing videos or images, it's the same principle for videos as it is for images. The only difference is when you're running video ads, okay, obviously square is ideal, but if you're running a story ad, you can run that on the timeline as a post, and if that user clicks into that video, it will then open it up to the entire screen or the full length of their mobile. Okay, so that's the only difference between videos and images. And the reason you want to make this adjustment is because we look at this. This is what happens when you don't adjust your ads. Okay, so when you don't adjust the dimensions of your ads. I will show you in a second how to do that. But you can see here, like when we're running a rectangle ad or landscape ad, we get this kind of ugly looking story ad, which I think you'd agree, it looks unprofessional. It looks like something that's been done to it looks like it's been rushed. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to do this. So you can see here, this is how we optimize it. So you see this is before, this is the after. It's dead easy. Let's quickly have a look at how we optimize our ads, and then let's very quickly look at how we then do that inside of Facebook. So we're back in Canva now, and we have our square ad. All we are going to do is come here, click Resize. We're going to select Instagram story, or we're going to put these dimensions in manually, which is 1080 by 1920 here. But this usually comes up on Canva. So we're going to go ahead and click this. We're going to go ahead and click copy and resize. That is then going to take all of our designs that we've done in square, and it's going to redesign them in that format. So we can go in here, we can find our designs. Again, it looks a bit strange. So let's go down to the one that we were just looking at, this one here. And what we would do is we would just go to right click, go to layer, show layers, and we're just going to select our 2 layers, because we've kind of got 2. We've got the background and we've got the foreground of this guy. And we're then just going to resize this guy to make him fill out the screen. We're going to leave a little gap at the bottom for our headline. And what we can then do is we can go layer, show layers. We can grab our primary headline and we can move that up to here, such as this. There we go. And then we can grab our sub headline and we can grab that down the bottom. What we could even do is we could double the size of that so it's taking up space, or we could even actually reduce that line spacing, because remember, you're going to have the swipe up feature at the bottom and you're going to have the logo at the top. So you do want to leave a little bit of space at the bottom at the top. If you see this example here, you can see you've got learn more and the arrow. So we kind of want to make sure it's above that. So we do want to leave a little bit of space at the bottom. Probably that's too much. So we're going to bring that up a little bit and then bring up our text. And that just leaves us plenty of room to have the swipe up at the bottom, and then also plenty of room above here for the logo as follows. In fact, we could probably even bring that down just a touch. So we're just going to grab our thingy here, bring that down just a touch. There we go. And there we got, you can see here, we'll have plenty of room for our logo at the top of the page. So now let's look at, once we've got these 2, we're going to download this. I'm going to download just this one, just to show you guys the example. So we'll download the current page. We'll then download the version in here as a PNG. And I'm going to show you how you would then actually upload this into your ads manager. So let's quickly navigate over to there, and I'll really quickly show you guys exactly how to do that. Okay, so I'm in my ad manager. I've got my ad image here. What we're going to do is we're going to come, let's make sure we're recording. Yes, we are. We're going to come into here. We're going to go ahead and click edit. Now you can see we've got these different placements already. So we've got the feeds placement, but the best thing to do here is just to click edit group. In fact, go back to edit the entire thing, edit media. We're going to go down to crop, and then this is going to give us our different placement locations. So what we can see here is if we click original, it's actually uploaded the portrait version here. So for the original one, we're going to go ahead and we'll click replace, and we're going to upload our square version of that image, so we can see we've got the square version, and this one we want to have our portrait version here. For our right column, we want to have our square version. Right column is going to make up a very, very, very small percentage of your impressions. So if you want to, you can put this in 1.91:1 format, and you can have a landscape version. I tend to not bother because it's such a small percentage of the impressions that it doesn't make much of a difference. So let's skip. Let's have a little look at how that looks. We can come down to here. We can click on story. We can see what our ads is going to look like on Reels and what it's going to look like on Instagram stories. It looks pretty good. Again, this is taking up quite a lot of the space here, so we may have wanted to move our text up just to like here, so it doesn't take up too much space, and left that white space underneath. And if we go to square, we can see what it's going to look like on the timeline. We can see that it looks pretty nice and kind of looks pretty good in the Facebook timeline as well. And so you kind of want to do that with both your images and your videos if you can be bothered. But it's just little touches that make a big difference. So now we've talked about image ads, let's talk about video ads. Okay, so now in my opinion, there are actually 3 types of video ads. You've got type 1, which is like an attention grabber or a scroll stopper. So that means maybe a video that isn't necessarily explanatory of the product in much detail, but what it does really well is it stops the scroll and it stops the user from looking. So if we have a look at some examples, I can show you what that might look like. So I have this board here, which is where I collect a bunch of images. And so if we take, for example, this is, I think, Monday. Oh, come on, my name's Terry. You get the idea. So we've got like the numbers and we've got the logos underneath. So it's just like an engaging ad. It's not necessarily, like actually giving us much detail or information. If we take, for example, have a look down here and we go to what other video ads have we got here? There's not too many. I won't spend too much time on this, but you kind of get the idea. So like something that is maybe scroll stopping, maybe it's engaging, and it's kind of giving information about the product, or it's basically grabbing their attention. That is what I would call an attention grabber or scroll stopper. We've got our type 2 video, which is essentially like a sales video. So that is a 30 to 60 second video, typically, that I've got the video breakdown here, but it basically explains the product or gives the user more or less as much information as they may need to actually make a decision as to whether they want to engage with that ad or not. So from start to finish, it will give them all the information they need to make a decision, which we're going to show you. I'll show you actual live examples of that too. And then number 3 is a rule breaker. So this is something that maybe is different, and we're going to show you examples of that in a second. It could be funny, it could be engaging, it could have the owner in it, it could be a selfie video, something that's a little bit different. Again, you want to test these out to see which one's going to work the best. We'll go through examples of that in just a moment, but I've got a general sales breakdown video. This isn't general because it doesn't have to follow this template, and you're going to see with my examples, some of them do, some of them don't, but they still work. Okay, so we've got our hook, we've got our pain point, we've got our information, offer, social proof, and urgency. And that is the general kind of structure from start to video end of what that looks like. So you always want to start with the hook, and you always want to end with some form of urgency or scarcity. So a hook is something that hooks them in with a bold statement, or something that's maybe relevant to them, such as a video of their current town from a drone shot, and it says homeowners in New Jersey, or homeowners in Essex, or homeowners in, you get the idea. And then we have the pain, which the pain point, which is basically like a statement which has an easy yes. Are you struggling with X? Are your walls looking old and tired? Are your windows over 12 years old? Some sort of pain point that has an easy yes answer to it, generally speaking. Okay. And if basically the idea being is your target customer watches this to this point, you've pretty much hooked everybody in with the hook. And then your pain point is like call out for your specific problem or pain point that your product solves. And again, we're going to go through some examples of this. Information is like the key information about what your product does and how it solves that problem, which again, you do definitely need these two in your ad. And then your offer is the offer that you're offering to them specifically, i.e. the discount or the promotion or the things that we've talked about. And then your social proof is why should they trust you? Again, you don't have to necessarily put this in here, and you don't necessarily have to put urgency, but it's just kind of 2 bonuses that I like to include if I have the time and resources to do so. Okay, so let's have a quick look at some examples of these video ads. And what I've done is I've gone through the archive and I found a few examples of stuff that I've ran in the past. So let's see, there's a few different variations and styles that I've kind of found. And we're going to have a look at just a couple of these. So this is one I knocked up relatively recently as part of my video series inside of my agency club school community. So if we have a look at this one.
Are you a small business owner in the Bournemouth area? Are your carpets...
Just quickly, this is actually following by the letter quite well. So we've got the hook, which is the Bournemouth video, and I use small business in the Bournemouth area. So again, it's kind of stopping the scroll.
Business owner in the Bournemouth area? Are your carpets and upholstery in need of a clean?
Again, it's the pain point or easy yes that we've kind of added in there on the second stage of the video.
Here at Summit Cleaning, we have an offer running right now.
So what I've done is I've kind of jumped away from the information. I've jumped straight into the offer. I probably could have added in between there. So something such as like, here at Summit Cleaning, we have the highest tech equipment necessary to clean carpets in a matter of hours, or something like that.
Upholstery and carpet cleaning from just £3 per square meter. From one of the highest rated cleaning companies in Bournemouth with over 135-star reviews on Google. Click the button below to secure your first clean today.
And I've used a voiceover from 11 Labs, which is like an online AI tool, which is just 11labs.io. And you can, for free, I'm pretty sure, you can write your text in here and it will generate speech for you. And you can even choose the voice that you want to use for that text to speech as well. So we go back to the examples. Let's have a look at this one here. This is actually not mine. This is one I found online. There's no audio. There is audio, but it's not playing the audio for some reason. So you get the idea. So the whole point of these is that somebody could, in theory, watch them without sound. So someone's on their phone, on the train, it can grab their attention, it can do all the heavy lifting without needing sound or audio to get the job done. Let's have a look at one more. It's a similar kind of voiceover style video that I did before.
Did you know you can earn up to £500 per hour as an aesthetics practitioner?
That's done a really great job with the hook. So that hook was one of the strongest I could find, which is like you can earn up to £500. A lot of people in the industry were doing other, similar things, but earning like £50 to £100. So that was the biggest hook.
And become qualified in as little as 4 days. Right now at Skin Lab Training Academy, we are offering 50% off our next 4-day course for just 10 people. Click the button to find out more.
Again, I probably could have added more info, but that ad actually did very, very well, so I left it running. But if I wanted to, I could have tested multiple hooks, and that would give me more varieties in the testing stage, which we can talk about, which we're going to talk about in a second. Now, one more video I want to show you, which kind of ticks that box of like breaking the rules, which I talked about up here. So it's a rule breaker video. This is a very old client that I worked with a long time ago, but this video ad worked really, really well. Let's have a look at it.
So we're looking for 40 local people to take part in a body transformation program for 42 days. You're going to get some serious body fat results, and we're going to show you 2 ways to make it totally free. What you're going to get a meal plan.
Anyway, you get the idea. So it's more just like the hook at the beginning is kind of funny. And obviously I did add some headline text. I probably, in hindsight now, I probably would have changed this text to something like for homeowners in, something like that, just to kind of make it more specific and tailored to that area. But you kind of get the idea with this video. So it's a little bit of a different idea. And so that's why testing is so important. And that is what we are going to go into next, which is my testing strategy or sort of testing process. Now, actually, this is what I call like my rapid fire testing strategy. This is actually the wrong image, so I'm actually going to remove that. But anyway, so let's look at the diagram. Now, this may look very, very confusing, but it's very, very simple. If you have a budget of $40 per day, which we do in this instance, or $30 per day, or even $20 per day, my favorite testing strategy is to take each individual ad that you're running and split that into a different ad set for each one. Now, obviously, you don't have to necessarily just have one ad. If you, for example, had 2 images and one image was a red background and one was a green, you want to just test those next to each other, and they're similar, you could put those in the same. But the best way to test it is to split them out like this. So the way I've done this is we have 8 ad sets, we have 2 angles or products. So kind of like what we talked about earlier with the different products, maybe you've got different pricing for each product. You can split those into kind of 2 angles or products or whatever you want to call it. And basically when I say angle or products, what I mean is if, for example, you've got one offer on one product, you might want to split test 2 different angles. If, for example, you've got a company which has multiple products, you might want to take 2 or 3 products and split test those, or services, whatever it is. So that's kind of what we've done here. So we've got ad 1, ad 2, ad 3, all the way down to ad 8. Ad 1 will be price angle, the price angle, and then ad 5 would be the energy angle downwards. So we've got basically 4 ads for price angle, 4 ads for energy angle. So we're testing both those what we're also testing is 1 image, 2 images, 1 video, 2 videos. So we're testing 2 videos and 2 images, and these 2 images and these 2 videos will be the same in this in these 4 ad sets as it would be in these 4 ad sets or ads. So what that basically looks like is in each ad set, we've got 1 ad which we're testing, and then in each within each ad, we're testing something different, whether that's a different angle or a different image ad. And what that allows us to do is it allows us to quickly understand our winners. So you can see this in action here. You can see we've run this. We've got a couple of ad sets which is producing leads for like £1.50 or £1.60, and we've got a couple which are producing leads at higher than that. Now your cost per lead might be like £20 or £15 or $15, just as an example. But these are basically essentially our winners. Now, you want to try and have at least £5 or like $5 or $6 per ad set for lower budget clients. Limit the amount of tests you're doing. So for example, if a client gives you a $20 per day budget, then you might want to just test 4 ad sets. If a client gives you $40 per day ad set, then you can test up to 8. If a client giving you $100 per day ad set, just split that between 8. You don't need to do 32 ad sets. You don't need to overcomplicate it that much. The point of this is to test quickly and figure out if we have some winners within our ads that we've created. We want to find that out as quickly as possible. So I just like this strategy, okay? It's not necessary. You could run just 1 ad and it may work, but this just allows us to kind of, I guess, take control away from Facebook in the early stages so that we can later give it back to Facebook to then take over those ads that are performing and run with them more smoothly. For local businesses, just target broad. I cannot emphasize this enough. You do not need to do complex lookalikes and interest-based targeting when you're running targeting which may have 25 or 20 or 25 miles around a certain radius. Just keep it broad targeting. So that means location, age, and gender. You don't need to do anything other than that. Also, just test 2 to 3 main things at once. So what I mean by that is 2 to 3 angles, or 2 to 3 offers, or 2 to 3 products. So again, I didn't mention it earlier, but you can test angles or products. So it kind of looks like a spider diagram. You've got like your campaign 1, and you've got like angle 1, angle 2, and then you've got ad 1, 2, 3, 4, ad 1, 2, 3, 4. But these ones are a different angle to these ones. You kind of get the idea. And don't waste too much time on ad copy. You'll notice we haven't really gone through ad copy too much in this video because it's just not as important as your ad creatives and your ad headlines. Think of your ad copy as a supplementary to the other 2 core features, your ad copy, your ad creatives, and your ad headlines. All your copy has to do is to clearly explain what it is the customer is going to get and how it works, and do that in a way which is engaging and easy to read. So don't do long blocks of text. Do it in spaced out and easy, and use things such as emojis to get your point across on certain features, okay? So let's have a look at this in action. So once you've run this, and people always ask me, how long do I know? Okay, spend $100 to $200 and then you'll find your answer. Okay, that's the easiest thing I can tell you to do. Obviously, you can go a step further and say, oh, well, if you spend 3 times target CPA for each ad set, whatever. Okay, just spend $100 to $200 and then you have your answer. Okay, and you're gonna have something that looks like this. You're gonna have like some winners and some losers, and the goal really with this information is to take the winners, remove the losers, and recycle that process like this. So we add test variations, we define our winners. This should say we remove our losers. Actually, I'll fix this. We remove losing variations, and then we recycle that. We add in more variations. Okay, so for example, if we're here and we find that, well, actually the price angle is clearly working the best, and the energy angle isn't working so good, and we've got, the images are working better, well, then we might want to remove all these and throw more images into the mix so we can test out more of those. And the way we would simply do that is by simply duplicating that ad set, turning off the ones that aren't working, duplicating the ad set of the ones that are, and repeating that process. And we want to keep doing that until we've got a good 5 or 6 variations that are performing extremely well, and then we sort of graduate those into one ad set. So we move those into one ad set like so, probably by duplication. So we create a new ad set, and then we recreate those creatives in there, and then we've got maybe like, our winning variants inside of one ad set, which we can then run at a full daily budget. Okay, that is kind of the general rule of thumb as to how this works. Okay, guys. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop the resource doc for this down below so you guys can get access to this. I do have a full Facebook ads course, which I'm calling the Facebook ads vault, coming out into the Agency Club Inner Circle, which again is part of my core school group, which has a bunch of stuff, including like a free consulting call when you join with me, or an onboarding call. But this is going to have everything that's included in here and much, much more. You're going to have templates, guides. We're going to have full case study breakdowns. It's going to be the most in-depth Facebook ads course I've ever released. So if you guys want to get early access to that before the price goes up, because the price will go up once it launches, I'll leave a link down below to join Agency Club. Otherwise, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please, please, please give me some feedback down below in the comment section. Give the video a like. If you would like to be notified of new videos as and when they come out, you can hit the bell icon if you want to be notified. If you don't, that's totally cool. But make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. And I will see you guys in the next video. Don't forget, get a downloadable version of this exact Notion board in the description box down below. I'll leave a link where you can download it. Otherwise, I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks very much.